I'm going to be talking about the social economy in Ontario, and the social economy is better known as Agenda 2030 or the Sustainable Agenda. So I'm going to be making some MPs famous as well as Johanne Mennie, and for those who don't know who Johanne Mennie is, watch my video on the social economy, or watch me question Maxime Bernier for the second time, and that is also in regards to the social economy. So we can see Johanne Mennie on the guest list at this meeting taking place on November 21st, 2006. And we have various globalists as well as representatives from the Tides Foundation, which is how George Soros finds his financial gateway into Canada. So we have some of the MPs here, and many of you will recognize the names. The one I recognize is Dean Allison, who is an MP in Niagara West. Specifically, his office is in Beamsville, Ontario. And being that this is a transcript of the meeting, I'm going to read to you bits and pieces of what Johanne Mennie herself has to say. In 2004, the Government of Canada committed funding to be delivered through the regional development agencies and the Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council to support those engaged in this entrepreneurial social movement. So the SSHRC, Maxime Bernier submitted documents to them reviewing the social economy, and that was the nature of questioning I had for him. So the funding was provided to 3 regional development agencies: the Atlantic Opportunities Agency, the Department of Western Economic Diversification, and the Economic Development Agency of Canada for the regions of Quebec, as well as to Industry Canada's FedNor initiative. So there's actually 4 regional development agencies that I count here. So other than the fact that Johanne Mennie can't do basic math, I'm going to find out a little bit more here. So we can see that these 7 organizations here were 4 of them had been mentioned by Johanne Mennie, and we can see the Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency. We can also see Canada Economic Development for Quebec regions, and we also see FedNor, but I just want to point out one of the organizations here, the Department of Western Economic Diversification, is now Prairies Can and Pacific Can, so it's now split up into 2. But I'm going to be talking about FedNor, being that this is a video about Ontario, Canada. So FedNor is the Government of Canada's economic development organization for Northern Ontario, and as such, it is key to helping deliver on the federal government's prosperity and growth strategy for Northern Ontario. And there are 2 main funding vehicles for it: the Northern Ontario Development Program, which focuses on community economic development, and the Regional Economic Growth Through Innovation Program, which focuses on business scale-up and productivity and regional innovation ecosystems. Through the Community Futures Program, FedNor also supports a network of 24 Community Future Development Corporations across Northern Ontario. These locally driven CFDCs provide business financing and services, as well as support for community-based economic development projects. There is no real notion of community here, especially when the agenda is essentially contributes to building smart cities and depriving people of tillage and livestock. There's nothing sustainable about this, but you have to understand the way these people use words like sustainable. Also, as the need is determined and priorities change, FedNor delivers other Government of Canada programs designed to contribute to economic development in Northern Ontario. Recent examples include the Economic Development Initiative for language minority communities, Women Entrepreneurship Strategy, as well as the Steel and Aluminum Initiative. You're going to need a lot of steel and aluminum to build those smart cities. Northern Ontario Development Program. Through its Northern Ontario Development Program, FedNor invests in projects led by municipalities, First Nations, and other organizations and institutions that support community economic development, diversification, job creation, and self-reliant communities in Northern Ontario. So, funny enough, I believe that clean water for First Nations communities is part of the PPC's platform. Is this going to be the way Max is going to try to quote-unquote deliver on his promises. Basically promising clean water is his way of promising clean water by the Sustainable Development Goal standards. FedNor is committed to working with economic development and industry stakeholders to build strong and sustainable communities in Northern Ontario. FedNor supports communities' efforts to plan and mobilize their resources, enhance business growth, and exploit new opportunities for economic development and diversification. So the eligible applicants here are not-for-profit organizations in Northern Ontario such as community economic development, Aboriginal and Francophone organizations, industry and business associations, networks or alliances, as well as municipalities, municipal organizations, and First Nations in Northern Ontario. Regional economic growth through innovation. Canada's regional development agencies are one of the ways that the government delivers on its innovation and skills plan in the regions. RDA across Canada deliver 2 common streams of programming to help entrepreneurs start and grow businesses and create the conditions for the development of strong, dynamic, and inclusive regional innovation ecosystems across the country. Business scale-up productivity for ambitious companies in need of growth funding. Regional innovation ecosystems for not-for-profit organizations looking to grow the region's innovation capacity. So this is the Community Futures Program. This is FedNor supports 24 community future development corporations, as I stated earlier in the mandates of FedNor, and it's located throughout Northern Ontario. These community-based not-for-profit organizations are staffed by professionals and are each governed by local volunteer board of directors familiar with their community's needs, concerns, and future development priorities. No, not true. They are not for we the people or any sort of community. They're working on behalf of the social economy here. CFTCs offer a wide variety of programs and services supporting community economic development and small business growth, or rather the small businesses they wish to grow. Strategic community planning and socio-economic development, business information and planning services, and access to capital for small and medium-sized businesses and social enterprises. So this is the Community Futures Development Ontario. It was formally established in 1985, and the CFP plays a key role in business development in rural and remote communities across Canada. The goal of the CFP is to create jobs and foster new approaches to community economic development based on community strengths and infrastructures. Again, these people are not about the true notion of community. Community Future Ontario supports 60 Community Future Development Programs, CFDCs, in rural and remote communities across the province. In the delivery of the Community Futures Program, we are funded by the Government of Canada through the Federal Economic Development Agency of Southern Ontario, that's FedDev, one of the 7 that I showed you at the start, and the Federal Economic Development Agency for Northern Ontario, FedNor, also one of the 7 I showed you at the start and what Johanne Mennie had mentioned. So, despite the fact that Johanne Mennie had not mentioned FedDev, she did mention FedNor, and this organization supports FedDev and FedNor. So we can see that they just like to create a complex web so that not everything seems to be linked to one another, but in actual fact, everything is connected, and eventually all roads happen to lead to Rome. This is the Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency, and I just want to point out again that the Western Economic Diversification Canada, which is one of the organizations Johanne Mennie had stated, again, is Pacifican as well as Prairies Can. And then this is the one for Quebec here. So, all in all, we have a quiet agenda going on in Canada known as social economy, but it's better known as the sustainable agenda. And Johanne Mennie is somebody largely responsible for this, and not a lot of people know who she is. And I think it's our job, we the people, community, whatever you want to call yourself, in order to make these people famous. Because frankly, we have to find a way to live independently and not dependent on goods, services, government, corporate fictions, etc., in order to actually survive a truly healthy and sustainable life. And I say sustainable not in the way the United Nations does. So all in all, these people hate to be exposed. Bring them into the light, and don't be afraid to ask questions. Hell, go pop by Dean Allison's office and ask a question or leave a message for him. Anyway, take it easy, guys. Thanks for listening.